What can all of us learn from one of the most famous investors in the history of the industry? Of course, I'm talking about Warren Buffett. And today I'm going to talk about 5 of the most important pieces of advice that he shares with others. And if you watch until the end, I'm going to share with you what I consider to be his most important piece of advice that we can all benefit from tremendously. So go for a walk with me and let's talk about this. So, I was fortunate when I was younger. I had a chance to actually meet Warren Buffett. There were a group of us in business school, and Warren Buffett was kind enough to come and talk to my MBA class. And so I was able to meet with him and actually ask a question or two. I don't think it's going to be a surprise to anybody here that I do like to ask questions. I'm not shy. So I've always been a fan of Warren Buffett's, as has a lot of people. But let's start off with the video. And I think the first quote that I have to start off with, because he would say it's his number one rule. And his number one rule is don't lose money. And his number 2 rule is don't forget about rule number 1. And what he means by this, of course, is, you cannot invest without losing money. So it's just the nature of the stock market. It's the nature of investing. If you're in the stock market, you are going to have years where you lose money. If you look at Warren's investments, if you look at Berkshire Hathaway's annual letter, which comes out every year and is really a fun read, I encourage you to read it. But if you look at his annual letter, he shows his performance. And of course, he's had negative years. But overall, I think what he's really stressing is risk management and be cognizant of the risk that you're taking whenever you're investing. The second quote that I want to share with you is, he says, I would not invest in a stock that I wasn't interested in holding for 10 years, let alone 10 minutes. So, basically he's saying if he doesn't think the stock is strong enough to own for 10 years, he doesn't want to even own it for 10 minutes. And there, what I think Warren is talking about is don't day trade. There's a difference between investing and trading. And I think trading, I'm just going to be candid, I think for most of us watching this video, day trading and short-term trading is a very expensive game. And the odds are against you in day trading. But if you look at long-term investing, the odds are in your favor. Look at a stock chart, any 10-year, any 15-year period of stock chart, and it generally goes up and to the right? As stocks become more valuable over time, as companies learn to do things better, faster, and cheaper. So Warren is encouraging you to let time work in your favor as opposed to working against you. The next quote I want to share is Warren says that, and I'm paraphrasing all of these quotes, by the way. I'll have the exact quotes in the notes. But it's kind of with the walking style. It's hard to get these quotes exactly right. But the third quote that I want to share with you is Warren says that your temperament is much more of a predictor of investor success than intelligence, right? And why is that, right? So he's saying that your temperament, our emotions are our biggest enemy. And you can have a super bright person, but they're going to get their butt handed to them in the stock market if they can't keep their emotions in check. And we've seen even just recently with COVID and now with the situation with banks, the market can be a very scary place, particularly in a short time horizon. And so what Warren's saying there is, even if you're super smart, if you're prone to being nervous and panicking when things get scary, just be super careful, because that can really hurt you in investing. So Warren would rather have somebody with a couple points lower on IQ, but more of a steel behind and a little more steel around their hearts than somebody that might be a genius, but is prone to panic and is prone to being fearful. Okay, the third quote that I really like I'm looking both ways before I cross the street. The third quote that I like from Warren Buffett is he says that forecasts tell us more about the forecaster than it does about the future. And what Warren is saying there is, none of us know, right? If we had a crystal ball, we'd be filthy rich. None of us have a crystal ball. So the forecast that somebody gives you and they say, hey, you know, I think the stock market's overvalued, I think it's time to sell. Warren's saying that forecast tells you more about the person that's saying that than it does about actually the future. In fact, I just got a call today from a friend of mine, and he was saying that somebody that helps him with his company, through his company, he gets access to somebody that doesn't manage his accounts, but somebody at the firm that he can ask questions to. And the person he was talking to was saying, oh, I think the market's really scary now. I think you should take some chips off the table. And of course, he called me, his buddy, and said, hey, what do you think of that? And, you know, I just told him, you know, if this guy's crystal ball is any better than anybody else's, you know, he'd be in a different line of work. So unfortunately, forecasts tell you more about the forecaster than it does about the future. And the fifth quote that I'm going to share, and be sure to stay till the end because I am going to share what I consider to be a quote of Warren's that's 10x more important than any of his other quotes. But this is a super famous quote of Warren's, which is, you know, he advises that people be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when other people are fearful. And, you know, Warren would say that's kind of how he's made, you know, some of his best investments. You know, during the financial crisis, Warren was fairly active, right? He did the famous Goldman Sachs investment during that period of time. He did a couple other investments that really took courage. And some of the best investments are available, particularly for somebody like Warren Buffett that has to deploy a fair amount of capital in order for it to move the needle for his firm. It can be hard for Warren, it can be easier for us than for Warren Buffett to pick up things that are quote unquote of value. And so when the markets are fearful is really, you know, when Warren Buffett's balance sheet is of, and frankly also his credibility that he can lend to a company just by saying he's investing. That's when those assets are worth the most for Warren Buffett, and he can deploy them when others are being fearful. So I think it is good advice, right? And particularly, at least when when the market is fearful, don't do something that you're going to later regret. It's super easy to do that too. So that's my comment on his famous quote. And now I'm going to share with you what I consider to be his most important advice for most of us. And that is the best investment you can make is an investment in yourself, to invest in yourself. To, you know, let's say you want to learn a new trade or a new profession, to go ahead and do that and invest in yourself. And you've heard me talk before about how time and health in relationships are so important, particularly as we start getting older and we approach 60, where you've heard me say if you're 60, you likely only have 1,000 weeks left of healthy, active time, unfortunately. So one way you can invest in yourself is to make sure that you do these adventures and have these experiences and don't keep putting it off, because none of us know not only how much longer we're going to be here, but how much longer, even if we are here, that we'll be healthy and active enough. So, you know, a lot of people hear this, the best investment you can make is to invest in yourself. I completely agree with that. I think it's the most important most important quote that Warren Buffett has ever given. I did not know about that quote when Mr. Buffett came to my class when I was in my late 20s. But knowing what I know now, that I would have raised my hand. That would have been my question. So I hope you found today's video helpful. If you did, definitely please do me a favor and hit the like button. It really does help other people find the channel. We've been seeing some really nice growth recently, and I really appreciate you taking a minute to hit the like button. And if there's a topic that you'd like to see me talk about, leave a comment. I do read the comments. We're building a great community here. I do want to caution you to be careful of scammers in the comments. Unfortunately, we do have scammers. You know, they're talking about how, you know, they made a small investment, they made a lot of money, and then there's other comments that say, oh, give me the name of that advisor. that's a scam. So just be careful with that. I wish YouTube would do a better job of blocking that stuff. So you, my audience, and our community doesn't have to put up with that. So again, hit the like button, do me a favor. And until next time, I'm Azul, encouraging you to take full advantage of the youth of your senior years. Remember, you're only young once. Use this time wisely.